joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. And welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, presented by our good friends over at Little Caesars Pizza. We're Stay Hot. They're staying ready with some hot and ready pizza for you all NFL season long. We're here to recap the first batch of wildcard matchups through the weekend. We will, of course, be live during the Monday night game, and we'll get a chance to talk about the Bills Steelers game as well. But obviously we can't talk about those on our Monday morning episode because they haven't happened yet. But we will talk about the four that did happen, including my Browns getting obliterated and Steelers Packers doing some obliterating. But before we get into that, Matt, Theo, Theo, I saw you grimace a little bit because it did get a little tight there at the end. But
you just said Steelers.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, Packers. My bad. I just can't talk. But
it's all right.
Theo, I know you're doing well.
It's a beautiful day.
It is.
Although I have had to overcome some adversity. It's of course cold here in Denver as it is everywhere else in the country right now.
Yeah,
it's cold as hell, dude.
My apartment,
like 5 degrees this morning.
Not built for this type of weather at all. The windows, I don't know where the cold is. It's got to be just coming in all through the windows. But I was watching Texans Browns in a winter coat and a hat because it was 50 degrees in my apartment.
Dude, my house, it's like it's like 1800s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the heating in it is all messed up. So it all shoots through my room. So if the house wants to be heated, it's got to be like 85 degrees in my room. So it's hot as hell in here, and it's still cold downstairs. It's bad. It's too
Matt
cold.
Sweating
it needs
buckets
to
on the
stop.
podcast.
I have before, man.
It's time for me to start lying on Caleb Williams' name so I can afford a better apartment. I think.
Hold on.
I think I'm going to need to start pushing some misinformation and getting some brand deals.
App.
That's
like
right.
TikTok.
Yeah.
It's
TikTok.
really not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We should make our own social media app and then start posting all of our takes there.
Yeah. Then we could just do whatever. But we need to make money on it somehow. So why not just throw it on TikTok?
Yeah. We'll throw it on Threads, actually.
Yeah. The Threads Creator Fund.
Yeah, man. I'm sure that's very lucrative. But do we have to talk about the Browns game?
We do.
We do have to talk about it. Face the music, buddy.
Face the music.
What the hell happened to your guys?
We got out-coached, point blank, period. I think that's pretty plain. The Texans came out with a really good game plan, which was, and we kind of saw the writing on the wall, I thought, and we just kind of ignored it. In the last episode, we were like, yeah, man, their secondary isn't quite that elite, and they're going to definitely try and mitigate pressure to Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, well, how much is that going to matter, though? Like,
damn if the secondary wasn't elite, and damn if they mitigated that pressure. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, the 3 touchdowns, though, I woke up really early this morning and watched those 3 touchdowns back. And
did you wake up like just sitting straight up in bed, like sweating and screaming?
It was like I woke up at like 7 this morning. I was just like,
I'm surprised you slept at all, man.
Well, no,
tossing and turning under his covers.
Well, because I only watched like a little bit of the Chiefs Dolphins game, and I was just like, I don't really want to watch football anymore. And I just went to bed.
Dude is sick. Oh my god.
Fair enough.
No, but so the first touchdown was the screen to Nico Collins, right? And that was just, so they motion Brevin Jordan right, and then this was just play action zone. And that was like an outside, that was like a wide zone. So the first 2 steps for all the offensive linemen were super wide right. And then the left tackle and left guard flip their hips, peel back, and Stroud flips his hips and hits the throw to, not Puka. That's wrong game. Hits the throw to Nico.
Yeah.
He turns upfield, and it's it's like an alleyway because it's Juan Thornhill and was it Hickman or was it? I don't know.
There was one by
it
one of the
doesn't really
safeties.
matter.
There's a very good chance it was Hickman. He had a horrific game, man.
Not a great game, but it was just the Browns defense. Everyone, all but like 2 or 3 guys, like the guys that were like the guy directly across from Nico Collins and like the safety. Everyone else flowed right. And like that's just how the Browns defense plays. They're just super aggressive. They're super fast, and we saw moments where that was beneficial for them, right? We saw moments where JOK blew up runs 3-4 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, plenty of times.
But when they wanted their one play touchdown, they would just hard boot, hard play action, and just hit something on the other side. And that was I can't remember what order the other two were, but that was the Dalton Schultz touchdown was hard boot action right, and they had a crosser coming right, and then they had Schultz kind of
they had a Yankee
like
concept. So
he was like
it was like the big post,
inside,
and then they sent Nico on that crosser. And Nico has been playing so good, everybody kind of drew up on him.
5 guys on him, man.
And then that left 33 one-on-one with Dalton Schultz, which did really not go well.
I wouldn't even. It was more like 1-on-0, man.
It really was.
And guarding grass.
Yeah, it was quarter, half. So it was Newsome playing a deep quarter, and then Thornhill drives on the crosser, and if he does that, Zero's got to get and catch that post. But there wasn't any communication there.
A lot of people were blaming Newsome for that. A lot of people were blaming Thornhill for that, and I understood why Thornhill came down on the crosser to Nico, because that feels like a likely target, and he's like, I need to get down here to make this tackle or to break up this pass. Why is Greg Newsome holding on to that so long?
One of them's got to get back, and because Thornhill went, like it had to be Newsome. It was I mean, Laramie Tunsil did a great job handling Myles Garrett, I thought, and he did. And really, it was like, who else out there is good for the Browns right now? And really,
it's funny you said that in your TikTok, and I was thinking the same thing. How many, especially with all the injuries, good players does that Browns defense have?
3. I know it was, and it was something. I was sick about it after the game because I was like, this is the same script, exact same game as Packers Cowboys, same fucking game, down to Stroud and Love's stat line. It was the exact same yards, exact same completion. Like, I think they were both 16 of 21 for like the same amount of yards, same amount of touchdowns, like same passer rating. And it was the same thing. It was like, you get this Shanahan tree guy. He condensed the formation. He ran boot action against a team that loves to blitz, that loves to be aggressive, that loves to fast flow and then play one-on-one on the back end. And they just couldn't handle it. And guys were wide open. Like Newsome played bad right away. There was that shot to Nico Collins who made a great adjustment to it, where Stroud, was able to look off on one side of the field, move the safety Hickman, who was rotating to single high. And then like they brought JOK on the blitz, and he's blitz boy. Like he's coming downhill over and over again.
He got there too. He
had a good game. Like I do think that he had a good game, but man, there were so many times where like they brought him, and the Brevin Jordan touchdown the same way. Like he should have stayed with Brevin, and there were some long Singletary runs where he came flying downhill. But Slowick, and it was the same exact game, like the Packers versus
down to like the 2 bad interceptions, and I think both the second quarter, one of which being a pick six. Like, dude, it is actually crazy how similar those games were. Only difference is Cowboys had Dak, and they sort of put up some points there late when it was like
Yeah.
it was borderline like the game was entirely over.
Yeah, this is the Browns.
And
if the Browns hadn't thrown back-to-back pick sixes, it wouldn't have been so bad. Maybe like you probably could have.
That ain't how it works, buddy.
If those pick sixes were touchdowns, we would almost won.
It's a 28-point swing. Like, what do we?
Yeah, it was this, and after the game, I was like, man, I hope the Texans didn't just have the game that the Packers were and use up all the magic on the underdog. Like,
use up all the shenanigans.
That was like literally. I was like, that was literally the exact same game I was envisioning for Green Bay, and they just had it. And I'm like, that better not be the only. Like, they're the ones who get it. But luckily, there's more than enough to go around. But yeah, I mean, what can you say? I think Nico Collins. I'm trying to rank him amongst wide receivers. It's a tough exercise.
There's
that I'm sure
some new contenders and some new big positions.
I need to finish the wide receiver ranking quiz. The problem is that there's like 50 guys that I can put on that. It's going to take an hour to finish it.
Yeah, to think that they're doing this without Tank Dell. I mean, it's nice. Yeah, they're nice. Stingley had a really great game. That guy is moving super well, and his ball skills are absolutely elite. Like, him and Sauce at the top of that draft really are on track to be the best two corners in the league, I think.
Probably. Will Anderson had a great game, too.
Will Anderson balled out. Grenard balled out. Like, Christian Harrison and Blake Cashman both played great. Like, man,
pisses me off because I used to go to bat for Christian Harris too.
I liked him coming out of college, and then he sucked. But
I loved him. I was like, yeah, bro, he's legit. And then he ends my season.
And then Slowick, I owe Slowick an apology. I put him in the D tier of head coaching candidates.
Did you?
And I thought they were really run heavy throughout the course of the year. Like, they led the NFL in run pass sequencing. Like, this was the most foot on the gas that I've seen the Texans offense all year. And they, props to them for being aggressive with Stroud and, getting it done. And they look super dangerous. I thought, like, they've got all the cornerstones: left tackle, wide receiver,
they are
quarterback,
dangerous. They play
edge rusher, corner. Like,
it's like all the classic pieces are there.
And they're gonna play probably Baltimore.
You'd have to imagine that'll be a good one.
Unless Pittsburgh wins.
Never say never.
Never say never, I guess. But
anything can happen.
It's as it stands, it looks like they'll play the Ravens, and
I give them a real chance against the Ravens. Yeah,
that's another blitz-heavy defense. We'll see. But talk about teams that are well coached. The Ravens.
I don't have the same concerns in the secondary. With the Ravens, that I know that statistically the Browns are the best defense, and I think that they, deserve the best defense mantle because of that. But translating to the playoffs, I do think that there are guys at the second and third level that the Ravens have.
We're talking about, I don't mean to keep ragging on him, but Ronnie Hickman versus Kyle Hamilton. Like, that's about as big a gap in starters as you could possibly
Smith versus
imagine.
Taki.
Like, I'm sorry, bro.
We should have seen this coming. This was envisioned in the Broncos game when we had Denzel out and Garrett was banged up and we couldn't get pressure and they cooked us down the field. It's like, I wonder what would happen if they somehow did manage to slow down the pressure a little bit.
It's still a hell of a season for them. I mean,
it is.
They have at least half their good players hurt, bro. How many good players are playing for the Browns yesterday entirely? 4
without Chubb.
Without Chubb, and we're
Antonio got banged up.
Whatever. Right. I've been thinking. I was like, I'm going to spend all off season just like plotting how I'm going to make the Browns elite next year. I don't really have to do that much.
I don't know, though. I think the Browns are still kind of spinning their wheels, though, as contenders, because defense is something that's kind of inconsistent year to year. I think as long as they've got Garrett around, that they're going to be a good pass rush.
Well, the problem is that now you've seen that Garrett makes you very good, but ultimately you cannot have as many holes as they have. and it's like, where are they going to find like 4 guys?
They need corners who can tackle. If they get corners, they need a couple more corners who can tackle.
Well, they need to get Delpit healthy because Delpit is kind of the guy that fills in from the secondary. Their offensive line was super banged up down the stretch. We even saw Batonio, he was nursing some injuries, but we were on tackles 3 and 4. And then we were even at one point, we were on tackles 4 and 5. I think we had to put a guard, our fourth or third.
The tackle situation was so bad in that game.
Whoa. Hudson?
Yeah.
He's a ball player. Cincinnati legend.
Who the left tackle?
No.
Who's the left? I can't.
Cincinnati
the left
legend.
Tackle.
Good ball
left
player.
Tackle is.
And you guys didn't give the ball to Jerome Ford enough too.
I kind of agree with that.
Jerome Ford is not. No.
Stop.
They kept trying to.
Nick Chubb.
They kept trying to bring in guys to help the tackles, but there's only so much of that you can do.
Before
they
you
would
just need
always
the
have
tackles to be good players. Yeah.
They always had Njoku lined up right, and then they chip and then release. But sometimes they would do it on both sides.
My favorite formation is when we bring in 6 offensive linemen: Harrison Bryant, David Njoku, and Nick Harris at fullback. Doesn't get any better than that, man.
They would chip one guy, and then the other tackle would just get obliterated. So they needed 2 chippers, and then they would have had to live in these 7-man protection worlds all the time, which they kind of tried to do, but and then they never really got around to running the football. They were trying to Flacco cook and
running the football,
tweaking the pass, the blocking schemes, and just never.
And then they got down so much where it's we got to do it, but they couldn't. And that's the one part of the Browns. Even's okay, you get Delpit back, but there's still some secondary questions, and the linebackers are still going to be a problem regardless of health. But it's this Browns team not being able to run the ball entirely is just not something that's true about them, barring catastrophes injury wise like they have currently. I don't disagree that I sort of scratch my head.
Go ahead, Matt.
I agree going forward, the way I'm scratching my head here, or what I'm scratching my head about is how do they get this thing to contender? Because it feels like they're so maxed out right now with how they've spent everything. Mm-hmm. And how do they, what is Watson going to be good next year? And how do they fill out the defense? But I do think the run game is going to be a lot better. You'd have to figure.
The run game is going to be better. We can definitely question Watson and how he's going to be. I think the funny thing is that Stefanski wants to be a pass first team. He does. We've seen it before with Baker.
I would hope so if you're going to spend $63 million fully guaranteed every year on a quarterback.
It's fun. I was talking to Brad Spielberger about this, about what are the Browns going to be able to do? Because I theorized about a possible extension with no guaranteed money, and then they try and restructure to break that up. And he was and what Brad said, he was well, there's no way they'd be able to extend him, because why would Watson to agree to a longer deal with no guaranteed money? So what he's there's no way they would be able to get that done. But apparently they can just add void years onto the deal.
Whoopee.
As long as the cumulative number of years is 5 years. So I think he has 2 or 3 years left. I think it's 3 years left on the current deal. So they'd be able to add 2 void years and then restructure that. Save them. It would save them, I think, 20 or 30 million on the cap this year, which that's good.
I guess. I don't know. I think as long as that Watson deal's on the books, their future's pretty. I mean, their quarterback situation is fucked going forward because Watson has been bad. And so and they can't do anything about it. So you're going to have to win a playoff game or go on a run with bad quarterback play is basically what it comes down to for the Browns. So yeah, they're a good team, and they might be back next year with a great defense and a healthier team, but I don't know if they're going to be back to the level where they're going to be a team that I rate as a Super Bowl contender anytime soon. It seemed like this year they maybe had a chance. A lot of people thought like this is the team that could go toe to toe with the Ravens. They have the defense, they have the quarterback playing well, but Flacco is always going to lose his handle on it eventually, and defense doesn't translate quite like offense.
Well, the thing is that Flacco had already lost his handle on things like plenty of times. He had already thrown many a bad interception.
Yes.
Yeah,
It was just when was the defense not going to bail them out? And when it's 2 pick sixes, and then when the defense is bad, that's when it all falls apart.
Yeah. So Texans move on. I think they can go. I think they're obviously a dark horse. I think that they will be talking about them in the future, like, next week potentially as like, man, they win the entire thing. I rate them that highly after that performance. I think they've got all the cornerstones. I think they're kind of rounding into form, but yeah, it'll be a really tough game next week. But
I do want to say one more thing about the Browns that I did not like before we move on. There were 2 penalties that a lot of people thought were like 2 no calls that a lot of people thought were really bad. There was like a pass interference on I think it was Njoku. And then
you lost 45-14. Let's get a move on with these no calls.
I know. Well, this is what I'm saying. But off of both of those no calls, all the Browns players on the field are like throwing up their hands, like, "Where's the flag? Where's the flag?" And they had to call a timeout, and they ended up having a pen. Like both of these times, they lost a play because they couldn't get set in time because they were worried about a penalty in the last play. Stop worrying about these goddamn no calls. It doesn't.
Next week they'll fix the issue.
I'm sure, man.
I don't think they're going to get many calls at all next week. I would say, but
next week they're not going to have this problem.
They want to be LeBron.
They will not have this problem. There will be no call. I don't know. It pisses me off when I hear fans complain about no calls, and then I see like we're missing plays on the field because we're worried about no calls. That's just annoying. That's lame. But
Steph Curry makes you believe that you can do anything. I mean, look at me. He has me believing that I can shoot threes when I play pickup basketball. And the Curry 11s are specifically designed with ultimate bounce, grip, and stability to allow everyone to do their thing. New generations of ball players are coming up and showing the basketball world that the old rules do not apply. The future is exciting, fast, positive, and hungry. This NBA season, rock your favorite player and rep his shoes on and off the court. The Curry 11s are perfect for both the committed and casual ballers. The UA Warp Tech makes the shoe feel like it was designed for your feet, locked in no matter what you do on the court. Stop in your tracks with dual density UA flow cushioning and traction, an emergency brake that you don't even notice. Steph's 11th signature shoe steps into the second decade of his sneaker career, pulling colorway inspiration from the wonders of a positive and modernized future on and off the court. Take these kicks with you when you leave the scrimmage and rep UA wherever you go. Do your thing. Change the game. The Curry 11 Future Curry is available now at currybrand.com.
Moving on to the night game of Saturday. I didn't pay too close attention to this because I was
you were too sick.
Relapsing. I don't no, but Chiefs Dolphins. This was a game that I think we kind of had booked as very bad Dolphins vibes coming in.
Yes.
And
yeah, I couldn't get it out of my head watching the whole game. It's like, I thought that there was no chance of a comeback pretty early because I'm like, we just want to go home vibes had to be ridiculous. Freezing cold. You had a chance to play in Miami. I mean, I thought the big story though overall was outside of that one Tyreek Hill throw, the downfield action for Miami just was not there this game.
No, they didn't even hardly try.
They didn't even hardly try. And why I understand, they want to stress the outside, and that's been who they are the entire year, and it's worked very well for them for most of that. But it seemed like to a ridiculous extent that they limited trying to even hit things sort of down the field over the middle. Or at least they weren't able to do it. I guess the first time they tried, I was thinking this is the first time they tried, Tua goes and throws that really terrible interception. But it was a very uncharacteristic game for them to, with Waddle and Tyreek in there to
Waddle was
pull
totally
that
invisible.
back.
Like, did he even have a catch?
I couldn't understand it at all. I mean, I get if it's not working out or if it's cold and it makes things hard, or if the Tua arm strength, comes to show. And even on the Tyreek Hill touchdown, I mean,
that was one of his most egregious underthrows I've ever seen in my life. Did that thing go like 20 yards in the air? It was like, that thing should have been at the goal line, basically, and he put it at the 20-yard line. Like, that one was horrifically bad, and I've seen some bad ones from him. And yeah, man, I felt bad for Vic Fangio. That's what I kept thinking when I was watching that game, because that guy was just like, it's over. We have no edge rushers. Our corners are banged up. Like, he was just sending the house and being like, I can't just let Mahomes stand back there and do whatever he wants. So it's just like blitz, 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 blitz. And you should just never blitz Mahomes. And he probably should have had like 500 yards if Mecole Hardman could have track a football. Like,
good Lord, dude. I mean, I know I pull this line out all the time, but it looks like me out there or something. Like, when I go and I'm playing catch and they say go deep, and I just know, like, if I have to turn my head to look to catch it, like, dude, that's not happening. That's about how it looks for me. It just sort of drops down right next to you. You're like, oh man.
Yeah,
it's tough, dude.
They didn't have many answers, and Pacheco ran hard. I didn't think they got a ton of push either side, and in the run game. But Pacheco wasn't
like a statistically efficient running game, but damn, Pacheco played well, if you know what I mean. Like, he ran. It gets tweeted out every single game, like, dude, look how Pacheco runs. But it's because every single time you see it, it's like, oh my God, this guy. It's totally valid.
Yeah, the Chiefs got the yak as on top of everything else that they got. They were able to, break some tackles. I hardly saw broken tackles at all from Miami. It's just a pitiful performance all the way around from that team. And the defense, I think, has excuses, but the offense, they're so flawed. Like, it shows up in every single big game. They are so flawed. They can't run up the middle.
Nope.
And they can't make things happen if they don't get the ball out in 2 seconds. Like, if it goes on past that, it becomes like really, really negative. Like, Tua can't do anything late in the down. So I think of all the teams in the playoffs, they're kind of the most one-dimensional. Like, the Chiefs are more multi-dimensional. Like, the Cowboys, the Packers, the even the Rams and the Lions. Like, I think, like, I don't know what team is can do less things than Miami. Like, they've only got their hits, which are really good, and they're really fast.
They've got the creative stuff, and they've got the quick timing stuff, and they don't have much more. I 100% agree. I've said a few times this season, their run game is wildly efficient because of that. That outside stuff does break off big plays, and Mostert and HN, like, they get a lot going, but they can't actually go run the ball at you.
Yeah,
that's not really there for them, and it's a shame because they're probably a couple players away from that not being the case at all, and for them being really one of the best offenses of all time, because they've got the play calling down, and they've got these big explosive receivers, and they've got these running backs who are going to stress teams on the outside. But not being like the limitations that they have are brutal to overcome, and looking forward to fix them. Going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult, even if it is
to Miami, baby.
I was about to say, Theo, I saw a tweet from you earlier today. Something about number 4 replacing number 1.
I don't know. I think that probably won't happen, but I do think that Tua's future with the Dolphins has to be seriously looked at. If I'm Tua, I'm demanding a contract. Like, the dude is still on a rookie deal after all these years. Everybody else from his draft class isn't. His career has been in jeopardy like multiple times. It feels like he's got to want to cash in. He's statistically, at his peak right now. If he goes to the negotiating table with the numbers, they're going to look really, really good. And he's probably got, like, I cannot imagine he's going to be happy with all the success that he's had and all the numbers that he's put up to play on a fifth year. Quarterbacks hardly ever play on fifth year options. So, man, I think that their discussions this offseason are going to be really, really interesting. And I think Tua could potentially get traded or overpaid. I don't know, but like I can't imagine they settle on
It's
some
just one
like
of those situations where I don't know if there's enough quarterback options for them to find a real replacement. I mean, I'll give you Dak, but like, man,
they would have to be really disillusioned with Dak, because then what is Dak? What do they do at quarterback? Trey Lance,
Tua,
Tua, Trey Lance.
1 for 1.
Dak for Tua and
a first.
and
Hold
Waddle.
on.
I don't know.
It's tough.
It's just something. My other takeaway from this game, though, is that like for as doom and gloom, and we're kind of like this for both the Chiefs and the Eagles, right? Where it's like the fake pessimism has turned into like maybe this pessimism isn't so fake stuff. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs are like really not that far off.
No,
it really is just a couple of receivers, and it's an entirely different ball game.
Yeah, because their tackles and receivers.
Ball out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they need some tackle, but they've gotten it done with weak tackle play before. What they can't afford is these Mahomes deep balls, just not having a shot because the receivers aren't there. But I mean, you draft a guy and you bring someone in, and I think the Chiefs are going to be right back to where they were, even with Travis Kelce starting to slow down. Which I'd like to make it clear to all of our listeners, his hands were cold. And it made it very hard for him to catch the ball. And that's not his fault, and it's not Taylor Swift's fault. I
agree with that. And as long as you have Mahomes, you're I thought it was a great Mahomes playoff performance. I thought he played really well. I can't really think of any throws that were necessarily even dangerous. Like I thought that he probably should have had a couple of deep balls that had a shot to be connected.
We'd be talking about like a 350 and
I thought he played pretty fantastic out in the cold, like just was able to drop back and toss it around and made some huge plays with his legs, like really kind of broke the game open on a couple different instances, making guys miss. A couple of Dolphins players weren't sure if they were even allowed to hit him on that play where he broke his helmet. Like they didn't even try to tackle him for fear of a penalty, I guess, which was kind of weird. But yeah, I thought, playoff Mahomes showed out in that first game.
I saw a lot of people saying that it was weird that the Chiefs weren't forced to take a timeout, or that Mahomes wasn't forced to miss a play for his helmet being busted.
Well, he shouldn't have even had to change it if he didn't want to. Like the helmets, it was just, they were on the goal line. Like he could have kept going with the broken helmet. No, like for player safety.
I kind of agree, actually. I mean, I don't think letting a player play in a broken helmet is a good idea, because what if it breaks and now it's worse?
Sure, but
he takes another hit there.
I don't know if the Chiefs should be forced to take a timeout there if they don't want to. If they want to let it ride,
if Mahomes wants to change his helmet, I mean, he
didn't want to change his helmet. Maybe he was fine. He didn't want to change it.
I don't think they should have forced to take a timeout, but I do think if you get hit in the head so bad your helmet breaks, you probably should go get looked at.
That's a better way to do it.
People were saying concussion protocol. People were saying
he absolutely should have been in concussion protocol.
Dog, because it's the playoffs, man. Stafford had a concussion too, and he went back in the game. Like,
Stafford. We'll get into this game. I feel like Stafford has. Like every drop back, it feels like I'm about to witness the most violent act on a football field ever.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But
back. Yeah,
man, these playoffs, like Mahomes isn't coming out, dude. It's the playoffs. Like they're in the red zone. He's staying in the game, and I think that's fine. Like it's a tough sport. You got to be tough, and he was going to stay in there. I don't think that the Chiefs should have been forced to take a timeout or anything like that. I think the league could stop the game and say, get that guy a new helmet. But if the Chiefs wanted to let him play with a broken helmet, they should have just been able to do it. But it doesn't really matter. I think attention turns to the Dolphins offseason and the Tua situation. I think that's all going to be super, super, super fascinating to monitor.
I will gladly send them Watson for free.
Tua is better than Watson.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
I just think odds are they're just going to keep Tua, and there may not be that much noise about it. I think there's a real chance of that. The number of quarterback options are just not that high. Drafting a guy is completely off the table for a team like this.
Is it?
What? Yeah. How would they get up? Look. Tua is not the greatest. He obviously has his limitations. But in the position that they are in, there is no way that they can get high enough to get one of the top guys. And then you're a team that's trying to contend for a Super Bowl. You're not like picking Bo Nix or Penix or whatever, Daniels, guys who are also question marks, who are like, those guys are fine to take if you're a team that's like in the middle of a rebuild or going to bench him for a few years. Of that
Hear me out.
But no one who's like, we're going to start this guy day one.
Cam Ward. And you hope he's Jordan Love.
Cam Ward is not going pro.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
Did he change his mind?
He changed his mind.
Oh, damn. What the hell?
So it is over for the Dolphins now that Cam Ward has gone. Oh, he's going to the wrong Miami.
I think they should call Theo Ash. I think they should call Theo Ash.
I think they should call Theo Ash or Blaiden Kirk, in my opinion.
I don't know. I just think with Tua, like, he's going to demand way more than what Daniel Jones got. Like, his numbers are so much better. Like, and I just would not pay him that.
Well, he's better than Daniel Jones.
He is better than Daniel Jones, but like,
yeah, but Daniel Jones got criminally overpaid.
I think there are just not that many quarterback options. It is.
You're
just
probably
tough.
right, but
it's like in the NBA when you start building around the player, and then it turns out that guy is like the 12th best player in the league, and it's like you can't quite really build a championship team around that guy unless everything else is crazy. But you can't just go be like, well, we're going to go find somebody else to be the number one. You sort of just have to be, you just have to have the guy at some point. It's tough to do a change out. It's too late in the game for them. They're too far along now. If Dak becomes available, yeah, I'd think about it. But what are the odds of that? Because what are the Cowboys going to think? The exact same thing. How are we going to upgrade from Dak?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Unless they just go full rebuild, like fire sale. But I don't know why they would do that, I guess.
Teams, I mean...
Justin Fields, baby. Let's make it happen.
When's the last time an 11
is he better than Justin Fields or Tua? I think if they're
this
going
was a legitimate conversation like 2 years ago.
Well, it's still a legitimate conversation, I think. I think that there's a shot that if you put Justin Fields in Tua's situation, he could do a better job.
It's possible.
I don't know if I like 100% believe
I don't know
that.
I trust Fields to do the quick game stuff at this point.
Yeah,
maybe the idea is that like if he holds on to the ball,
I don't know if I fully would commit to that, but maybe if you're just like, we got to change some variable, because they have to change some variable. But I guess maybe next year their thought would be, look, we had a top tier defense for a couple weeks this season, but then our edges got hurt. So maybe it's just, we'll like just go all in on defense and like run back the offense and see if we can. I
wonder if they invest in the interior line and they say, if we have a real fleshed out running game and Tyreek Hill is just going to come back and catch every underthrown deep ball, that the limitation can be some of the holding onto the ball a long time and we can win it. That is, I think that's a far, far easier thing to buy.
That's probably what it is. But that might involve paying Tua, if he comes to the negotiating table and says, like, I'm holding out unless you pay me.
They're drafting Blake Corum and then they're running the ball.
What, Blake Corum? That's like the...
they're going to have the best running back trio in the NFL.
They're drafting Corum. It's all good.
Dolphins are drafting Corum. It's all good.
Yeah, they definitely have to get better as an interior rushing team, though. If that might be the one, maybe they're like that's
something that feels fixable,
It does.
Like it's pretty. Just draft a few guys or go out in free agency. That's an attackable.
That's definitely what they have to do. That's not even like should they, will they? Like they will do that. But will Tua what will Tua's contract situation be? That's really all I'm wondering, because they obviously will invest in, I think, interior offensive line. But at any rate, Chiefs win. Not surprising. Not surprising at all. And I think that they've got a real shot in the AFC.
I agree.
It's not unthinkable. You have Mahomes, you have a good defense, anything is possible.
Mahomes.
That's
and whether you're resolving to save money, eat better, or stress less this new year, HelloFresh has got you covered on all fronts. Picture this. Farm fresh ingredients, chef crafted recipes, and everything delivered right to your doorstep. It's the ticket to the most delicious year yet, and it's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Look, I've been using HelloFresh for a while now, and the convenience is unmatched. No more trips to the grocery store. Each HelloFresh box comes packed with pre-portioned ingredients, cut down the hassle, wasted food, no more. And speaking of variety, HelloFresh's menu is incredible, with over 45 dinner options every single week. Trust me, recipe boredom is not a thing here. And one of my favorite things about HelloFresh is the time it saved me. They handle the meal planning, all the shopping, and all I have to do is open my weekly box and I'm ready to cook with step-by-step recipes. And for those hectic nights, HelloFresh's quick and easy meals, including their 15-minute recipes, are absolute lifesavers. Now, as we're all looking to revamp our eating habits, HelloFresh has got us covered with wholesome, health-forward options, over 30 calorie smart and protein smart recipes each week. Yes, please. And here's a little bonus for you. Free breakfast for life. Yes, you heard me right. HelloFresh is giving all subscribers a free breakfast item with every single delivery. That's worth waking up early for. So my friends, if you're ready to make 2024 your most delicious year yet, go to HelloFresh.com/stayhotfree and use the code STAYHOTFREE for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while the subscription is active. That's HelloFresh.com/stayhotfree with code STAYHOTFREE and get HelloFresh, America's and Stay Hot's #1 meal kit. The big surprise of the weekend, the Packers beat the Dallas Cowboys
48-32.
Woo!
Now that's a lot of
Chef's
points.
kiss. Now, Theo, I have to say this one time. I never want to hear you complain about being a Packers fan.
When have I ever complained about being a Packers fan?
Oh, we lose in the playoffs all the time. Like,
I
this
am not
is true. You have
At
complained
first,
about
I agree
this.
with you, Blaiden, with you, Theo, but I do believe we were talking about how hard it is to be fans of all of our teams, and you're like, well, actually making it to the NFC Championship game and losing is worse.
Yeah, maybe I have gone on that
You
rant
have
where
had-
like
the Packers have been good for longer than you've been alive. They've had 30 years of nearly uninterrupted
I would never say
success.
that I have it worse than anybody but like Patriots fans, basically. But they have
You might
lost
have
some
it better than
heartbreakers.
them. The Patriots
The
have
history
been
of the
awful
Browns
recently.
and the Panthers.
Dude, we have
as
not
many
had it better than the
franchise
Patriots.
quarterbacks
Get
as the
a
Packers have
fucking
had
grip.
in a row.
Patriots fans can never complain. If they were born past the year, 2009, they were alive to be cognizant for multiple Super Bowl wins. So if you're a 5-year-old Patriots fan watching this podcast, you can complain. But if you're any other kind of Patriots fan, you cannot complain for at least 30 years. I
If
can
you're
at
a
least
5-year-old Patriots fan, leave a comment. Let us know.
at least I can complain about heartbreaking playoff losses. They can't even do that. There was a decade straight of the Packers like in the playoffs as favorites that never came to fruition
know,
because they
man. I
lost to
think
low seeds.
How many
But even
dudes
then,
your
that's
age
like
can
better
remember
than.
their team winning a Super Bowl? Not that
Well,
many.
I don't know. However many
that
have won
many.
the Super Bowl in the last 10 years or so. I don't know, but
Not that many.
it's not that many. No, look, I'm not complaining. Look,
Talk about
I
the
didn't complain
I'm
either.
just
I won't complain about Jordan Love. How about I'll promise that. I'm not going
this
to
is your
complain
third
about
straight good quarterback.
That does.
It's
not
people. You say that in such an accusatory tone. It's like, why can't you just?
How dare you have 3 good quarterbacks?
Sorry.
Just one, man.
Sorry.
I just want one.
I'm sorry that you guys can't draft. I'm sorry that no other team in the league can look at some
My fault.
hyper
I
talented,
can't draft.
huge
and
arm
it's my
quarterback
fault.
that runs around and like dominates, and they're like, I don't know, and his
I believe
mechanics
there
look
was
a
a
little
time
wonky.
when you didn't like the Love pick.
There was a time that I didn't like the Love pick, and but I came around just in time this
You
offseason.
came around just in time. I'm
I
not trying to rain on anyone's parade. It was a very good game.
He's been the
Packers.
best quarterback in the league the second half of the season, I think. I mean, he's not actually the best quarterback in the league. Mahomes is, but he has been the best quarterback in the league the
He's
second
been
half of the year.
freakish, dude. It has been unbelievable, man.
He's been perfect, really. Like,
I mean, how many big time, like how many just like big time pressure in my face? I don't care. That touchdown he had to Wicks, ridiculous.
And he called the protection. I was listening to LaFleur after the game. Like, he called in Kraft to max protect against the 0, and it was a full-on pressure. Everybody came like off his back foot, absolute dime on the big post. Just in total control of all aspects of the game. These last couple of weeks, I mean, it's Chicago, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 84% completion rate. The week before, 3 touchdowns, 256 yards, 72% completion rate, no picks. Carolina, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, 60% completion rate, no picks. Like, even the Tampa game was pretty good. Like, the New York game, he faltered a little, like a lot. He is not good in that one. But versus Detroit, he balled out. Versus Kansas City, he balled out. Versus the Chargers, he played pretty well. Versus Pittsburgh, even, he had some nice throws. Like, since November, it's been, I mean, he's been perfect. Like, I have absolutely no complaints. He's protected the football. His yards per attempt is like probably north of 8. Looking at PFR, and they're not clutching up, trying to look at like the per 17 game numbers over that time. But yeah, the dude is just absolutely money. All the receivers are good. And Aaron Jones is that guy. I mean, I may have put Aaron Jones ahead of some running backs that I shouldn't have put him over in the past. But he's
Dang
still
if he ain't good.
He's still top 5
good
when he's healthy. Like, the guy,
He's really good.
The guy is amazing. He's the most efficient running back
How far
ever.
removed are we from saying that the Packers had horrible receivers?
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what makes even less sense to me than Jordan Love being great. Jordan Love, okay, like I thought he was like decently talented, and I thought like, okay, he could play well. Obviously, this is a surprise now with how good he is, and I think it's surprise to probably even the highest.
I mean, I thought he was going to be good. I didn't expect perfect. He had the best EPA per play of all time in the playoffs.
I mean, like, I don't know what to make of that, but all of these Packers pass catchers are legit. Like, it's the most nonsense thing ever. Like, last year it was horrible last year. I mean, it was not very, very, very
limited. We had an episode
outside
this
of Watson
season where I'm pretty sure we talked about like,
well,
these
at
receivers
the beginning of the year, it was not like this. And now it's like Daubs is like, I mean, dude, he killed Stephon Gilmore, man. That was probably the worst. Like, I just, you're lost now play of the entire season, as far as I'm concerned. And he had 150 today. And, you know, it's like, I don't think anybody else put up like crazy big receiving numbers, but that's just because there was only so many throws total. Everybody else contributed amazingly. And the tight ends, Kraft and Musgrave, they're great too. I mean, it's legitimately, you probably went from at the start of this year thinking that receiver is maybe their number one need to like, they're set. They're full. The depth is good.
Really, my thought on the offense is like, sign everybody on this team to a lifetime extension now. Like, every offensive lineman, every receiver,
and they're gonna get
every running back, every quarter, like the quarterback, like this whole core should just let him cook. Like, put
lifetime deal will move.
Not DeGuara.
Yeah, DeGuara in particular, he says.
DeGuara actually had a nice game today.
Just insane though. Just insane from the Packers offense. It is ridiculous that they are this good. And then you got guys like, I mean, what round was Zach Tom picked in?
He's been elite this year. He's been probably definitely a top 5.
They're young as hell, man, and they could be significantly better. I think Love's going to get some real MVP dark horse, hype next year. I do. I could say the same thing with Stroud, but I'm questioning how dark horse those guys are going to be. They're both ballers. Both those teams are like the 2 up and comers right now. So it's just an incredibly impressive game. I don't know how you could be more excited. And it's beautiful because now it's like, it's all house money. Like, you're going and playing the 49ers with like,
oh yeah, it doesn't. It's a successful season no matter what happens. And the defense played pretty well too. I mean, it was a good matchup for the defense. And that's what really gave me the confidence to pick them to win. The running game is really what kills Joe Barry. Like, that is what they are absolutely dog shit at. And the Cowboys have not committed to it at any point this year. And it going back to this offseason, I questioned, as much as I pushed the Pollard over Zeke agenda the entire time Pollard and Zeke were together in Dallas. They never gave Pollard any kind of workload. They never gave him. He was on a heavy snap count. Like, the running back coach said it. Like, he's like, I don't think Pollard can get 20 carries in a game. He said it in a press conference. And then they went into it with him and like a 5'5" guy and Rico Dowdle. And it's like, are these guys going to be able to run the football, or are they going to be able to like lean on that at all? And they really didn't through any point in the season. And that's why I thought Dak had like serious MVP, juice throughout the entire thing. Is like, yeah, he's got CD. Yeah, the line is good, but he's not really, he doesn't really have a running game to lean on. And outside of CD, it's like, their weapons are fine outside of CD. I can't say that they're bad, but it's not like all time good or anything like that. And yeah, I thought that that was something that played into the Packers' advantage, was the fact that it was going to be a shootout, and the Cowboys don't like to lean on the running game anyway. And that's what I think really gets Barry in trouble. I think that's really what gets him in trouble. So yeah, it was, and for the Cowboys, the Niners, like, maybe. I don't know. Now that it's all over, I question their roster construction with their backs. I think that the other thing
is that Pollard, he's coming off that broken leg.
Yeah, exactly.
And the ankle surgery. And they I agree. They don't have a great number two behind them. It's just it's very, very limited.
Yeah, they kind of put it all on the passing game. Dude, Jerry Jones after the game, did you hear him talk?
Mm-mm.
He said, that's the worst playoff loss I've ever seen in my life. He said, that's the most surprised I've ever been. That was the worst.
I think I think that's completely valid.
He's been in a lot of bad ones.
I think that is completely valid. As far as Cowboys go, since in recent memory, there's been some other heartbreakers where a call goes against Jared. There's been some ones where they kind of blow it at the end and don't do their best to win. But you're going into this game, 7 seed, never won it, right?
Yeah.
And it's an immediate blowout. Like, the Cowboys were essentially out of it right away. And they sort of like borderline hung around for the entire game, but you knew that they weren't going to come back the second the Packers came out.
Dude, that was miserable though. I knew they weren't going to win the game. The last 7 minutes of that was the worst viewing experience I've had. I shouldn't say the worst. This is me complaining as a Packer fan, but
I get it.
Right? But it was like, just put them please just end it. Please end it. We have it in the bag. LaFleur pulled the starters and put them back in. I was like, oh my God.
The thing about it is that if, as a Packers fan, you go in there and it's like, if we lose this one, like, nobody cares. But then all of a sudden, once you have that big lead, now you have something to lose. And
now we have everything
to lose
on
the line.
It cannot be 48-16 or whatever the hell it was, and we lose the game. And I was like, I know it's not going to happen. I know it. Like, there's not enough time. It would take it would be so miraculous. But man, they started driving down there at the end. I was at the bar. I was at a Packers bar here in Denver. And we were all just like, oh my God,
Packers
please
bar
in
Denver?
You sound surprised. There's probably 12 Packers bars in Denver. There's a Packers bar in every city in this country.
I'm gonna try and find my nearest Packers bar here in Cleveland.
It's probably like 3 blocks. It's probably like 3 blocks away from you. It was a big weekend for me with bars because I was at the Chiefs bar for the game because I didn't want to buy Peacock. The Chiefs bar was rocking. Those guys were hyped up. It was an awesome environment. Absolutely packed.
Go into those bars kicks ass, man. Every time I've been to something like that for a game, it was
absolutely rocking. And every time they cut to Taylor Swift, everyone went fucking crazy. It was in
a good or a bad way?
In a great way, in a positive way. They were Chiefs fans. They treated her like
That's dope.
royalty. They cut to her in the crowd
That
and like the
rules.
entire bar. She was like, yeah, like, it was so different.
that kicks in. Yeah, that's
It
funny
was
as
so
well.
different than like everything I've seen on social. You'd be like, why do they always cut to Taylor Swift? They could never show anybody else but Taylor.
I've been an NFL fan for 45
cut to
years.
Morgan Wallen, man.
I'm disillusioned. So it was cool to be at a room of football people. They would cut to her, and every single person in there just like lost their fucking minds. Like I was like, this is way better than like the curmudgeon. Like, why would they ever show her?
And
That's
you
the
didn't
worst
have to
dialogue on
and
Twitter.
You didn't have to support the peacock propaganda.
And I didn't have to do that. And I know they didn't show Taylor that much because every time they did, the Chiefs fans went crazy, and I like it registered in my head like every time that it happened. And it really did not happen hardly at all in that game until like at the very beginning it did, and then at the very end it did.
Yeah,
and
because she was wearing the Travis jacket, the like puffer jacket, which that
yet
is
still-
sick.
And yet
That
still
rules.
no one on Twitter like was rocking with it.
Nobody
at all.
thought that
They were
was a
like,
little cool.
why
Like
would they-
nobody thought that was a little sweet. I thought it was a little sweet.
No one. It was awesome. Look, Taylor being at the game is
rules.
legitimately awesome. Like there is no other way around it. Like the fact that she is at like every game.
Yeah, dude, she pulls up like crazy. And the thing that really bothers me about this is that people act like it's some 30-minute show and Taylor Swift is taking up like 5 minutes, like
No,
a sixth
they
of
literally
it.
just, like,
no,
cut
it's
to
a
her.
4-hour event and they show Taylor Swift for like 40 seconds of it when they would otherwise be showing just some like random dude on the bench. Who cares,
Right.
man?
Exactly. No, it literally
When
doesn't matter at all.
Like a drone
and she
shot
like
of the stadium.
she
for 4
literally like
seconds.
loves football. Like she's like, man, I really love this. She's the
Yeah.
most famous woman on the planet, and she's like, man, I really see the vision on this sport. And you can tell that she does because she's at like the Chiefs Jets game. Like she's pulled up to almost every single game that they have played. It's like, I think that's like really good for football, and it like makes me feel good that like we're visibly watching like a very high profile person like start like enjoy the game and like get into it. I'm
Yes.
like, that's good. And yeah, it's not like at the beginning, like, yeah, there was a lot of coverage on it, but like now there's really
and, like,
hardly
I don't know,
any
I
over
feel
the
like-
course of the broadcast.
I feel like every broadcast pans to the owner's box, like a decent amount. Anyway.
yeah, they'll show like crusty ass Jerry Jones up there.
We should be complaining about David Tepper being
How
shown
about we
during
show the
game.
beautiful woman in attendance? Like,
How dare they?
how do
It's the same men that
More-
be over sexualizing women complaining about.
damn? There's
This
a
is
beautiful
crazy, man.
pop star in the crowd that they keep cutting to. Stop it, man. That's horrible. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, where were we?
We were talking about the Packers, and then
Oh man,
somehow,
the Packers so good. Oh man. the
Oh yeah, we
Cowboys
were
so
talking
bad.
about
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
singing the praises.
Did we talk about what the Cowboys are doing forward? Going forward, I guess we kind of hit on that. I have
Yeah,
no
that's where we
clue.
were going on
I mean,
it.
they
We
need
were going
things
with
to
that.
get
every-
healthy. That's
That's
the
not
big,
solving
obvious
everything,
one.
though, man.
No, not everything.
I think when you look at the parts they've got to swap in and out, I think that it might be time for a new direction with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I think I've never seen a playoff run since 2010 where McCarthy didn't get out coached. And with Rodgers, he was a heavy favorite in basically every single game that he played in. But it was, the 6 seed Giants that beat him. It was Colin Kaepernick who was running for 200 yards on it. Like they were always the favorites in these games, and they like losing, and they fired him.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's in Dallas, and it's losing in the playoffs, losing to a 7 seed. Like the guy is good. Like he's fine. He's a warm body at coach, but I don't think that he's ever, or at least since the early days of Rodgers in Green Bay, been on the cutting edge or clearly been elevating a team like McVay or Shanahan or Campbell or Vrabel or someone like that. Like
Yeah, 100%. Like how many of these guys, you see as like humongous positives for their teams. I mean, Campbell and McVay, obviously, LaFleur, obviously, Andy Reid and McDaniels, obviously.
Yeah, like they're good coaches out there.
I'm just going down the list now. It's almost all of them. It's just not something that you can afford, and that's particularly true when it's one of the easiest things to change out. It's so there's no limitations on doing that, right? And this is a great offseason to do it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what they got to do. I think they got to keep investing in offensive line. I know they have holes in other places, but Zach Martin is getting old. Tyron Smith is getting old. They got to pour some resources there, and then they got to get a linebacker. I think they got to do a better job dealing with motion. They've got to find a coordinator who is better at that type of stuff. I mean, Dan Campbell, I think, or not Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn. I think his schemes are a bit archaic. I really do. I don't rate him super highly as a coordinator. I've been worried about it all year, how he matches up with these Shanahan guys. I know that the Fangio scheme has lost a lot of its luster, like with Staley getting fired, and it's not some magic bullet. But when I look at some of these alternative schemes like Schwartz and Quinn in the playoffs, it's like I still kind of think that playing too high and getting visibility on everything and being able to read things out from depth and then come downhill and have eyes on crossers instead of like roboting and like turning your back and trying to run with them. Like, I think that too high structure it's in vogue right now for a reason. And some of these coaches who aren't doing it are, I think, a bit out of it. I mean,
you can run single high.
You can. Oh, yes.
You have the guys on the back end to do it. But I mean, what have we said all year, right? I think the theme of most of the season has been balance. Right? The Browns run almost exclusively single high man coverage. They run it at the highest rate of any team in the league.
Yeah.
I imagine the Cowboys aren't that far behind.
No, they can't be.
Isn't that the theme for life?
Balance.
Wouldn't you say?
It is.
And I'd say that's true in all sports. You must be balanced and in all aspects of your life. I agree.
So true.
Yeah.
True, Matt.
The nice thing about Dallas is they were first in the division. They would be an attractive coaching job. Like CD is still great. Dak, I want to call him great. Like I thought he played great all season, really. But man, these games against these good teams and in the playoffs, it just feels like he's forcing things and trying to do it all himself. Like maybe the key is find a more consistent running game. I think that if we're talking balance, like take some of the pressure off of him because it's clear he can't do it by himself without forcing things and throwing a bunch of picks in these against these good defenses or in these big games.
Maybe he does feel like he has to do it all by himself, I mean,
clearly he does, and to some extent he does. So I don't know. Maybe it's draft the running back high and try to bring in Ben Johnson or something like that and change things up on the back end with the defensive coordinator. I think that they could do more rushing force stuff. They do have Micah Parsons. Like they don't need to blitz too much. I don't know. I think they got to swap things out with coaching and try to find more balance on the offensive side of the football. This episode of Stay Hot is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you just pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And they also now offer Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. A couple weeks ago, I hit a big one on Prize Picks with my Browns versus Jets play with Njoku and Flacco and Breece Hall, and you can too. So head on over to Prize Picks, use the code STAYHOT, and they will double your first deposit, or prizepicks.com/stayhot and use code STAYHOT for a first deposit match up to $100. So what are you waiting for? Head on over there.
Do we want to move on to the final game?
The best game.
Our Little Caesars game of the week, the Lions and the Rams. I didn't realize how many like revenge performances were happening in this game, like Goff and Reynolds and Stafford. There's just kind of a decent amount of stuff going on.
Yeah, that big trade. And yeah, I thought that this one was intense, man. I was on the edge of my seat basically from the opening gun to the very, very end. And we just talked about how Sean McVay is a guy who elevates his team, and he obviously does to a huge extent.
Yes.
But I did have some issues with him in this one. Towards the end, he punted on that fourth down. They ran past the sticks and tried to get it all on third and very long after they accepted that penalty towards the end. I didn't like the game management there. They threw a fade to Cooper Kupp in a got-it-have-it situation in the red zone, and it didn't work. I thought that this game, like, you had such a masterclass from Stafford. I mean, he felt, he felt just absolutely inevitable, and yet they just couldn't quite take advantage of a quarterback playing at that level. And I thought some of that came down to coaching decisions.
Not only that, Nakua this game, man. Oh,
dog.
My God.
Straight dog.
The thing, and he is the best rookie wide receiver ever. He is. He's right up there, man.
Probably.
Like, Chase was great. I mean, he just put up 200 yards in this game and caught pretty much every target he had.
Mm-hmm. He can block. You can't tackle him. Like he catches everything.
You can't tackle him. He's nasty route runner. Like, dude, this guy is insane.
And they said he was like that day one at camp. They're like, he showed up at camp and he was just like a ball of muscle. You couldn't bring him down.
And that's what's so mind-boggling about it is like all that we're maybe that he's the best rookie wide receiver. Maybe like Odell or Jamar Chase or Waddle or whoever. All those guys were like top first-round picks. Mm-hmm. In terms of like a day 3 guy being this good, it's just completely unheard of. I mean, at least at wide receiver, I can't think of anything like this off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm no historian, but I mean, he broke the record. So, albeit it took him 17 games
60 years.
16, but still, I mean, he was pretty close at that 16th point. Like, he at least was in some historic company, even without the expanded season. So, yeah, man, I mean, it was quite the performance from those two. I thought the offensive line was struggling. Hutchinson was absolutely on one in this one. I mean, he was pretty undeniable, even for me, who I have not always been. I thought
you were going to tweet something out about his like phony sack where he touched down Stafford after he like fell over.
That was a phony sack, but towards the end, like his spin move is like, here comes Aiden Hutchinson, and then it's just like some rotating guy like coming at you. It's like, how does the spin work this much? I don't see any other edge rusher do this shit. He found a way, man. He's he's got that shit down absolutely pat, and I didn't really think that he would be able to make a counter move, a full-time thing like speed to power is, but God damn it, he got it done, and he just
that can happen in like he think he's Siakam. Siakam's the same way. He's just spinning all the time, man. But damn it doesn't work, dude.
Here comes
spinning all the time.
Here comes Siakam. All right, he's gonna twirl around you. Fair enough.
The thing that stands out to me about Hut, I feel like he's gotten faster. I feel like he just looks more explosive. Like. And I always forget how big he is. He's like 6'8". He's like 270.
He is not 6'8". What the fuck?
Maybe 6'7".
No, he's not 6'7".
Look up how big Aiden Hutchinson is, man.
Oh, he is 6'7".
Yes, man. He's built like LeBron.
All right, he's not LeBron.
Okay, at the combine on the RAS card, it's 6'6.5". You cannot say he's a 6'8" edge rusher.
This reminds me, Panthers fans used to do this shit with Cam Newton all the time, bro. They'd be like, dude, he's 6'7", 280. And they just inch it up and.
He's 6'8".
If he was in the league now, he'd be 7
Maybe he was still growing like LeBron.
He's still growing just like LeBron.
He's still growing, yeah.
You're telling me you weren't still growing? 6'8" Aiden Hutchinson. What the? Was Sean Oakman 6'8"?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. I think so.
They're saying 6'9".
Dang.
Damn.
6'8".
6'9",
He is
the
big. He
tallest
is
player in the NFL.
6'7".
He is a tall
What?
guy, though.
Yeah, he's just got the size. He looks much more explosive, I feel like, this year. He's just been a freak.
I'm
He's
glad
got
I was not a
problem to deal
linebacker
with.
playing in this game.
What?
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. I'm glad I was not a linebacker playing in this game. Good Lord. Both sides of the ball got cooked, man.
Yeah, those guys
Yeah,
won't be on.
defense was not necessarily at an all-time high. I'm glad I wasn't Michael Hoyt in this game.
Dude, all right, I genuinely, here's the thing. I don't think that I'm smarter than anyone running any team, but I just want the explanation of, like, why the hell is he dropping into coverage so much? Like, that's bad. He can't cover. He's too big. It's not his fault.
Raheem had a disaster class after I was like, man, he's a really underrated head coaching candidate. Like,
do you? Okay, I'm not even like trying to like make like a joke. Like, do you understand why they do that?
I think they want to put 5 guys down on the line of scrimmage. So Aaron Donald is getting one-on-ones. But then when they go with, bodies in the slot, it walks a guy out. And that guy was just always Michael Hoyt. I mean, he's played when I watch Rams games, he covers a lot. And I was looking for it on Twitter. He one time had an amazing rep on like CeeDee Lamb or something. Like he like flipped his hips and like
even a broken clock is wrong twice.
I think like for a defensive end, he's like not always the worst at it, but he's like still a fucking defensive end against like
it's not
the
his
best
fault.
slot
It's not that anything is
weapons
wrong
in the
with him.
league.
He is just too damn big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, this was a horrible legacy game because now whenever anybody sees him, they'll be like, oh man, he got cooked in that one game. But he had some nice pressures tonight. And
yes, he totally did.
I think that he's a little underrated, Michael Hoyt, but they did not do him any favors schematically.
I feel like the Rams have to be positive coming out of this game a little bit because they were coming into this year. We talk about how young the Packers were. The Rams are right there with some of the
problem is their quarterback is really old.
Yeah, sure, but he's still good.
Yeah.
It's not like he's regressing. As long as he's healthy, he's one of the best.
We're getting into any given season territory with Stafford where he's getting up there, and as long as he's healthy, man, this guy takes a beating consistently, man.
I know. Yeah.
And eventually the arm will give out.
On like every play, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like he's got to have been pretty close to retiring in the past, but good job by the Lions, man. I mean, the shots to the crowd, like, the guys crying in the stands, but man, they've never seen it before. And
Theo,
they earned it.
Video yet?
What video? Oh, the video that they favorited me. They can't cook me too bad because what I said, like, it's going to be close. It's going to be emotional. I like Stafford versus the Lions defense more than Goff versus the Rams defense. And it was a 1 point. It was like a 1 point game. So it's like, okay, guys,
the editing is getting you.
Jared Goff
Stafford coached the whole game.
And call you an idiot.
So I'm like, I cannot be put on a poster to some insane extent. It's not like they won 50-0.
It doesn't look like they've cooked
Rams
you yet,
cover.
But it's coming.
I just saw that notification this morning. Lions added your video to favorites. I was like, no way. They're
I'd be sick, crying, throwing up, kicking my feet.
But yeah, I thought Goff played pretty well. He had some really head scratch. Like he had a couple moments where like he fell flat on his face.
Out an all-time Goff bozo moment with the two-handed fumble backwards.
But they didn't end up burning the team too badly, and like for the most part, like I kept kind of waiting, like Stafford's balling out, like when is Goff going to make the mistake, and it never came. And Amon-Ra was nails.
Amon-Ra was amazing. The thing about Goff, and we talk about him all the time, we kind of say the same thing. It's like when he's in the pocket, he's good, but you get pressure on him or you need him to improvise and things get shaky. But he is really good when he's in the pocket. When things are clean, he is very, very good. And there's a reason why he's not, the 25th best quarterback in the NFL. Mm-hmm. It's because he can hit over the middle field. He can hit all the shots. And I thought today it was much more good than bad.
Yeah, I agree. This one, I wish I had more to say about it, but just fresh off the
I'm happy
game
for the Lions as a team that they've had. This is their first playoff win in over 30 years. This is their only home playoff appearance ever, and they won it. I mean, as a team that has had a long playoff drought,
because they've been building to this for so long, and like how it's all played out, and you know they're just a very likable team, and I'm absolutely happy for them. It's very cool. I should have worn my Spawn Hour Lions jersey.
Oh man,
I blew it.
Go get it.
Well,
right now.
you've still got another chance because they're guaranteed to play either the Eagles or the Bucks in the next round. And I feel pretty good about the Lions making it to the NFC Championship.
Should we go to that game?
Yeah, tickets are going to be about $1,000 a piece, by the way.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And it's in Detroit.
Shout out to them. No hate. I'm not driving that.
Detroit hit us up right now.
We picked them all to lose in the last game. They are not hitting.
Detroit hit us up right.
They kept our receipts. They're dancing on our grave. They're not supplying any of us with playoff tickets.
You don't mean that, man. My team.
Maybe next year.
Divisional
soon.
Cheapest tickets, $888.
We are not going, bro. I can promise you that.
No. But it was a pretty rough game for the Rams defense. They still have a lot of work to do on that side of the ball. Was kind of my big takeaway. Like they've overperformed expectations this year. They've ranked way higher than I thought they would. And Raheem Morris, for as questionable as tonight's game plan was, deserves a lot of credit for that. But
there's limitations on that defense, man.
Yeah.
It's I don't want to blame him too much.
It's Witherspoon had a pretty brutal game, number 44. It was, they've still got a long way to go in terms of adding
someone that plays with this team a lot in Madden. That's the weakness.
And who knows how many more years of Aaron Donald they have left. I mean, they've had to beg him not to retire like before. And really same thing with Sean McVay. I still think like that's one thing that could really rock this offseason is like, yeah, they had a successful season, but it's pretty clear that like I don't know. I think the Rams could get hit with some huge plot line this offseason still. But I don't know what that might be. But
maybe. But they're still young. And like Byron Young had a pretty good year.
Yeah, they hit on their rookie class, so it's like it's not over for them. But like they still have a ton of work to be doing, and like their stars are they're just in a weird place because their top three like mega stars are all kind of aging, but they've also got this situation where they're like, I don't know, they need a Jordan Love. They need to get the Packers situation going here where like Stafford is getting older. They can take a shot on a guy if they like, I don't know. Bo Nix or something in the end of the first round. Like they've got a pretty prime opportunity to follow the Packers formula, but the Packers formula is pretty special because it requires like just the right prospect falling into your lap. And I just don't know if that's this year.
You can be happy if you're the Rams, but you can't be satisfied. You can't be complacent.
Yeah.
So, still work to do. But, I don't have a whole lot else to
That's all the games.
To say.
We got Bills and we all got Bills tomorrow and we all got, we don't all got Bucks. I got Bucks.
Yeah.
Matt, you said
I've
Eagles.
I've got Bucks.
Yep.
Maybe I feel like I should be picking the Eagles, but I'm gonna stick to my gut. My gut tells me to pick the Bucks, but I think the plan is to go live during the night game, Bucks Eagles, and then we'll chat a little bit about the Steelers Bills game that'll be in the late afternoon. But hope y'all had a great Wildcard Weekend. Know there were a few blowouts, but happens sometimes. Have a good time regardless, Some of us on this podcast had a better time than others, but that's how it goes sometimes. But appreciate you all tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. Make sure you tune into tomorrow's live stream and Tuesdays where we'll be not recapping. We'll be watching film on another upcoming NFL draft prospect. But until then, we will catch you on the flippity flop.